When I was a kid, when I first started journaling, 10 years old or even less, there's one I have that I think I started when I was 8. I would get something new like a Davy Crockett hat or something, and I would go to bed with it. I would sleep with this new thing which I had received from Santa or whoever. And it was just kind of a ritual, and I've done it ever since. Well, when this first arrived from Amazon about a day ago, I went to bed with it that night. Darlene's on one side of the bed, and our little dog Sophie's in between her and me, and the Colorsoft was there. And so my first impressions of it were subconscious because it was next to me as I slept during the night. 2 years ago, I said that the Scribe then was the best thing I had ever used to do my journal. And now it's even better. The one I was thinking of when I started when I was 8 years old, unfortunately, it's up in New England. But these go way back, and for years I would use just this kind of a written journal, and they'd last a year or so. And then I started typing my journals, and so there's decades of journaling the way we always used to journal, pen and paper, put it in a notebook, and that's that. In 2023, I was using the Scribe that first came out, and it's black and white. It's an e-ink screen. So I'd write using the stylus, and then I would send it to my computer, and then I would print it out. And that resulted in a nice, big, thick notebook. It's just full of pages from 2023. Starting in 2024, I thought, I've got this iPad, and what if I were to switch to something on the iPad that would enable me to journal in color? And so I found an app called Notability, really a nice app. And as I was writing that year, I would throw in photographs. Here's one of my friend Ben that we visited on the way here to Florida that year. And you could just throw text in and photos and links, and it was very rich. And I enjoyed it a great deal, and I printed it out. Interestingly, maybe it's because a picture's worth 1,000 words. It's not this notebook, when I printed it out, is not as thick as the one that I did the previous year. Let's just switch to the Colorsoft here, and the last few days of the Colorsoft, there's some color. I can put the day in red, and then I can put something in green. I can highlight. When I was doing the 2023 journal, just on the Scribe in black and white, it's pretty much the way I've always done it. I would use it to write about travel that Darlene and I had been doing, thoughts I was having. I would share my emotions in a pretty honest way, and it was sort of helpful to see what I was feeling on the page. But it was pretty much just an extension of the way I had always journaled. When I switched to Notability, what I was doing in the journal changed, and it became more like maybe a blog, a travel blog, because by putting the pictures in, I'm kind of illustrating my life. Still lots of personal writing, but it had a different feel. It was more sort of public-facing. I had my usual level of enthusiasm. Oh, I've rediscovered journaling. I'm doing it with Notability. I'm dropping all this stuff in on my iPad. But as I recall from 2024, the iPad has so many other things that you can do with it. I might see some kind of a text message show up, and just the process of loading photos in and doing that, there was a lot of things happening that weren't about writing. So as the year turned from 2024 to 2025, I thought, I think I'd like to just go back to the way I was journaling before, black and white on the Scribe, and and I found it satisfying. And I think as the year proceeded, I was writing in a deeper, more intuitive way, perhaps. The thing which did get added to my journaling was AI. And the main way that I was doing that was using a Google tool called Notebook LM. And I was able to load PDFs of all of the writing I had done on the Scribe into Notebook LM, and it could read it. It could convert my hand scratching to text that could be searched. And then I could ask questions. I could say, what were the main themes in 2024? So although I was writing the way I've done for decades, these AI tools were accessible to me because of the Notebook LM. Well, here comes the Kindle Scribe Colorsoft, and now what's added is color. And I've just started to kind of imagine what that might look like. The basic focus space is preserved in the new Kindle, and the color that's added, it kind of helps that it's a bit muted. It's not as bright as an iPad screen, an LCD screen. It's Amazon, in some clever marketing language on Amazon.com, calls it easy on the eyes. Well, okay, it's easy on the eyes. It looks muted. Sometimes I think, gosh, it looks washed out. I wish it was a little brighter. But I would not give up the focus space that it offers me as someone who's writing a journal to get that extra hue, and so it's just the right balance. It feels like it's a significant change. I think color enables me to access my life. Here in my studio, I've got a painting by a friend of mine who's passed, Alvaro Cardona Hine. It's called Window on Costa Rica. And we went and we studied. He taught me all about poetry that trip 20 more years ago. The color, it's so vibrant. But the color doesn't have to be that vibrant to add a new layer of creativity to my journal. What I'd like to do now is conduct a real-time experiment of the Colorsoft. And what you see here are lines, and I like the narrow lines. I always just write across the lines. I stay in the lines, and I have been talking about how this new device maybe can open up more intuitive insights through my journaling. But I think the way that that's going to have to happen is we're going to have to get rid of the lines. And that we do by changing the template, and we go blank. We'll just do it to this page only. I don't want to do it for everything. But now we have a blank page, and we have the ability to do color. I always write with the pen. There's also a fountain pen. There's a marker. There's a pencil. There's a shader. Let's try the marker. And let's try the first color over here, which is gray. It's not really a color. Let's move on to red. And let's pick the middle width. And then let's just swirl around a little here and say, what will I'm going to change the color here, because I want to have C be a different color. C, and I'll write it in script, and I'll put a big blue. I can change the color directly, I guess, here. Yeah, make that a blue question mark. Now, something doesn't seem quite right like there, so I'm going to go to the eraser and just erase that line. And we're going to make that a real question mark. That needs to go over a little, don't you think? So we're going to get the lasso tool here. And we're going to just lasso it and then move it over a little bit. I've heard about the shading. That's kind of a new thing. That's a whole new implement. Let's shade in aqua. See what that does. It's kind of nice. Just sort of color. I always used to love to color. Over here. And let's lasso this whole thing here. And let's move it down over here. And then let's just try a fountain pen. I always used to love fountain pens. I'm going to try a blue fountain pen, medium width. Do I dare change the way I journal. Okay, and the answer to that, we're going to make, we'll have this be a pen, but we'll make it pretty thick, and we'll make it purple. How about that? Why not? Well, I don't know. And part of me is so attached to words that if I was playing with a page like this, I might want to just say, don't worry. And this is the eraser is so cool, you just flip it over. Don't worry. Words. I will not abandon you. Oh, that's wrong. Got to get that. I'm just feeling a freedom here, a serenity. And I think that's what this maybe is going to open up. It's like a door. And there's the door. And I'll just put in bright red in a nice big, the biggest I can do with a pen. Who knows what I might find behind that door? I'll finish up with some numbers and some information about what exactly is going to be available on December 10th. That's the day that I'll release this video after the embargo lifts on the review copy that I've been using. And on December 10th, there'll be actually 3 new Kindle Scribes that will be available for ordering on Amazon. They'll ship immediately. And the one that is black and white and doesn't have a front light, so you have to have a light shining on it to write it on it or read, that is going to cost $430. If you want the new Kindle Scribe that does have a front light, that will be another $70, $500. And then you've got to spend another $130 above that to get the Kindle Scribe Colorsoft with 32 gigabytes. That's $630. And for another $50, $680, you can get 64 gigabytes. For my use, 64 gigabytes there's no point in spending that extra money. So the 32 gigabyte model for $630 would be fine for me. And I'll be buying one when I send the review copy back to Amazon. I'll also be buying a cover because they've got a leather cover that will fit the new Kindle Scribe. The new Kindle Scribes have a little bit bigger screen. They're thinner, they're lighter, they're faster. There have been a lot of improvements. The functionality is very similar. And they have a lot of AI stuff I haven't had time to talk about, but I'm sure there'll be lots of chance to learn about that. And some pretty remarkable things have been added in these new Kindles as well. But this cover is great because you can read it at this angle, like on a table, a coffee shop. And then if you want to write, you put it at this angle and you've got this nice surface for writing. So I'll definitely be getting one of these in addition to the new Kindle Scribe Colorsoft. 18 years ago, the first Kindle came out, and it was such a clunky little beast with a scroll wheel, and but you could buy books in 60 seconds. And I started a podcast soon after it was released in 2008, and what a ride it's been. When you think of what this device is that we're looking at now compared to that one 18 years ago. The steadiness of the improvements and the creativity and all the people I've met on the Kindle team. I've just been so impressed and delighted to have a chance to not only use and learn about the products, but to have a chance to gain an appreciation for the people that make all of this happen. And I've just, there's so many people involved in the Kindle, and I've just met just a few, but it's really been fun to go to the events and meet people and do coverage and have a chance to do things like this, to cover the review copy. Would love to have any comments or questions that you might have. Just leave them in the comments here on the YouTube video. Hope this has been helpful and useful and entertaining. Thanks for watching.